Welcome back. 40 minutes past the hour right now. Hundreds of thousands of Americans may be affected if indeed the government shuts down. But people in Washington, D.C. would be especially hard hit. It's a city that stands to lose millions of dollars and stands to have critical service ended. This is where it really hits the road, because they will lose their jobs in some cases or be furloughed and lose some of their services. The D.C. congressional delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton is outraged over the budget stalemate. She joins us now from the nation's capital. Representative Horton, Delegate Horton, there's a really complicated relationship here. A lot of people don't get it. Explain to us how this shutdown would affect D.C. differently than other places.
The District of Columbia passed its local budget balanced last year. The committees here in the House and the Senate approved them last summer. But these folks here in the Congress have not gotten their act together. They require our budget to come here. That is an abomination, because we're talking about local money and local funds. So technically they haven't passed any appropriation, including ours, even though all they do is essentially sign off on it. So what is going to be the result? We have a crowd here now who are holding up the entire country over some federal matters, legitimate federal matters in which the federal government has long been involved. Now we're talking about a local jurisdiction. Now, in solidarity with both sets of employees, I will be giving up my salary for every day we close down. But notice that the House has not voted that members of Congress will not be paid. The Senate has, but the House has not voted. So what do we have here? We have not only my federal employees who will be out of work, we have District of Columbia employees. Why are they in this? Every cent is local money. I have had amendment after amendment that said simply attach something that says the District of Columbia can spend its own local money. Instead, as you said in your earlier clip, they're now debating policy matters. Right. There is some indication that they're using District of Columbia's local money in that debate.
Let me just ask you about this one thing, because it seems as though this has sort of highlighted an issue that you have separate from the budget, which is that why should it have to be that that D.C.'s local budget gets wrapped into the federal mess? Why didn't that get taken care of? I mean, did you have more support when the GOP was not in charge of the House, when it was basically Democrats running the White House and both houses of Congress?
100% support.
And why didn't that go through then?
Our budget should not have to come here. As Mr. Hoyer said, 41 Republicans kept the budget from being approved last time. But let's assume that both sides were to blame. Why don't they let the district out, since our budget, of course, has been done now for almost a year? Whatever the Congress did, and you can go about sorting out the blame between Democrats and Republicans, but I bet you this much, the country will say, well, the District of Columbia doesn't have anything to do with this, and if they've got some local money in here, they should be able to get out of this mess.
Let me ask you this. Off of that topic, let's get right to the fact that if this government shuts down, it's going to affect people in every city who may not just be government workers because of all those ripple effects. How is it going to be different in D.C. than it's going to be in Philadelphia or Denver or Atlanta? What's D.C. going to feel like when this government shuts down?
Very important to note, it has radiating effects on our economy, and like every big city, we're just getting out of this recession. For example, this month, 3 million visitors are coming because of the Cherry Blossom Festival. They almost had to close down the Cherry Blossom Parade, in which I'm due to march on Saturday, because of the National Park Service along the federal routes going to be there. So the district police have taken over, but the district has already been hurt that way, because when people hear that the government is shutting down, these people will not have come already to Washington, because they know the Smithsonian won't be open.
Right.
So that they've given us a double hit. They've hit us by now trying to shut us down, and they've hit us where it really hurts in our economy by shutting down the federal government, where people come to Washington and fuel our national economy because they come to see the sites which won't be there to see.
Well, hopefully this will not happen. Hopefully there will be an 11th hour deal. That, of course, is still very much up in the air this morning. Eleanor Holmes Norton, the D.C. delegate, District of Columbia delegate in the Congress, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Coming up next, an update on those cracks